CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Mike, and we're going to be talking about new business models. So we're not going to talk about technology. And if we do talk about technology, we're going to make sure that we're not going to talk in buzzwords or anything like that. This is going to be about business process, the opportunities that the new technology provides us. Mike, tell people where they can find you.
Okay, hello Tim, thanks for having me today. It's easy here on LinkedIn, of course, and on the internet under www.mikeflache.com.
Excellent. Digital.
Yeah.
It's a big, so what? so what? I mean, people have been talking about digital transformation for what, 15 years? And I certainly
even longer, even longer, I guess.
Maybe
it wasn't named like that, but the issue is even longer.
And I still think that when I look out over LinkedIn, it kind of still feels a bit like 1990.
Yeah, sometimes it seems like that. Yeah, of course. So I think you brought in the right term, buzzwords, and of course we have so many buzzwords around us. One of the biggest or current ones is generative AI and artificial intelligence in general. But yeah, let's make it more concrete. So if we talk about new business models and digital transformation or digitalization, what does it mean? And my experience is that we often talk about the same topic, but we have a completely different meaning. So this means, what is a business model in the first place?
Yes.
Okay, let's bring it really down to earth, explain it in a simple way. So it's just a plan for a company to make profit, nothing else. And for that, of course, you need a market with a problem that the company solves. And for that, you need products and services. And of course, to establish or bring these products and services into the market, this is related to costs.
Yep.
So the costs are lower than the turnover you make per year, then of course you're profitable. But yeah, it sounds so easy, but in many of my discussions on the management table or with the stuff, there's no difference. We talk about profit and we talk about digital transformation and digitalization, and yeah, we are so fast forward. And what I see is, it's not the case, yeah, because we talk about these, let's call it fancy words, and in the end we have 10 people in the room and everybody has a different understanding of these terms. And this is the reason why, the company goes a little bit right, a little bit left, up, down, back and forth, whatever. And you know what this means. This means a standstill, and this is close to you. Welcome back to the 1990s.
Well, I mean, just using the term generative AI of the audience, some people will have fallen asleep, and some people would have thought about something, and some people would have thought something. But what we could have all done, if we all written it down on a piece of paper and then showed it up on the screen, it all would have been something different.
Absolutely, yeah.
And because there's no real definition of what that means, and I don't think really we understand the impact. But if we go back to digital transformation, I've got written down on my notes here when we did that 98% of businesses will have to change in the next 3 years. And I can't remember if that was you that said that, or that was I think there was some research quite recently that said this. Now, if we think about business, what we do in business is that we create a company, and then what we do is we learn how to crank the handle, and we just carry on cranking the handle. Because if don't tell me to stop cranking the handle, because all you want me to do is crank it faster and faster, because you want more and more profits. And as we know, some of the biggest companies in the world are not the biggest innovators.
Yeah, sure. But they are clever enough to monetize their ideas and
Right.
monetize their concepts. And this is, let's turn it back to the business model. What the business model is about. If you understand, again, bring it back to the simple thinking. The two key levers of a business model are pricing and costs.
Right.
And regardless of the digital age or the age of industrialization, there is no change. And this is what I mean. We have so much buzzwords out there, and then, for example, let's bring it to the board level. They discuss opportunities, and of course, they are under pressure on the one hand. On the other hand, they want to develop the company further. This is clear. But think about, what are all these words worth when you don't know what it really means? So bring it down to us. Why do we need new business models? So, and let's separate the companies into two areas, key areas. One area are the new the new companies, and on the other hand, we have the established ones. So both of them need to innovate or need to think about new business models. And there's a little difference, of course. A new company tries to attract investors, tries to recruit talent for the company, and tries to motivate the staff to drive all these, to drive the vision further. So the established company, of course, most of them, they have a business model that is currently working. But what does it mean for the future? So we have rapidly changing framework conditions. You named it polycrisis in the post you sent out last week. So this is what I mean. We have an environment that's changing, that is changing rapidly, and even an established company with a well-working business model has to evolve, has to improve. And without that, it's not possible. And regarding the established companies, because most traditional companies that have this classical top-down thinking, I'm wondering why not many of the managers are bringing the business model to life in the case of, let's explain it to our staff, let's explain it to our teams, let's explain it to our employees, so that they get a better idea of the business model and of their own future. Because when the business model doesn't work, so of course the company won't exist in the future, and this means something to me as a staff member. So again, we need the right context for all these words, and then it's easier to explain what it really means.
So if I'm from a small business perspective, new business models kind of, for me, is a kind of a given, because that's one of the reasons why you're starting up a company. I know it's not necessarily always the case, but most people that are doing a startup see themselves as being some sort of disruptor. I know that we see ourselves as disruptors. Yeah. But if you think about companies that have been established for a number of years, even companies that have been established for 5 years, they could be disrupted. What, as a leader and a leadership team, do I need to do to start thinking about new business models? Because it's scary.
This is the right term, scary. But I hope not scary for you. You mean scary for the people who think about new business models, right?
Yeah. If you're in a company that's been going for 20 years, for example.
It's clear, because it's so warm and comfortable to sit down and have a business model in front of me, or maybe under my whatever,
and just shout at people for not selling enough.
Sorry?
And just shout at people for not selling enough.
Yeah. And of course, think about it. It's so warm and comfortable. Why should I change anything at the moment? The future is far away, but now it's so warm and great. So why should I change? And this is, of course, this scares people.
So what, if there are people watching this who go, this is just like our board meetings. I come to the board meetings, and we need to talk about having or looking at new business models. How do we go about this? What is it that we need to be doing?
to invent a new business model, for
Yes,
example?
yes.
Okay, it's simple. As I told you at the beginning, let's keep it very simple. Yeah, we need to involve as an established company. For example, let's take an established company. We need to involve. The framework conditions are changing rapidly. This is what I mentioned already. So what does it mean? How do we generate money in the first place? And again, most people are very fearful to talk about, hey, the company wants to make profit. Profit. Of course, we want to do great things, and we need to do it in a sustainable way. This is not the question. But in the end or in the first place, it doesn't matter. It's about profit. So, and this means, to me, and based on my experience, we have to ask, okay, where we are today, where we want to go tomorrow, and for tomorrow, of course, this is an assumption based on an analysis or whatever. But again, we have to ask, can we make or generate profit with our service and product in this or that business field in the future? And this is the key question, because otherwise it won't work. And for example, the most common mistakes, both for new companies like startups or established ones who wants to reinvent their business model, they underestimate the cost of funding for implementing a new business model until it is profitable. This time frame is underestimated, or the funding for this time frame. And of course, you can say, yeah, the market is not right, or we are too fast, too slow, to whatever. Yeah, in any case, but I also see a common mistake is people, the management, whoever it is, even myself, I did the mistake at the beginning. So we don't think deep enough what this means in the future, where we can make the money. And think about the pilot projects. Many people talk about pilot projects, and let's bring in the pilot project. Yeah, the pilot project is great. Of course, not a question, but we have to be aware that in the pilot project, we have, let's call it, polished framework conditions. So we have an ideal case. We have an ideal framework condition. Everything works, and okay, we have a little bit from the left or a little bit on the right that attacks our idea. But in any case, it's a polished framework condition. So, and this is not the reality. As we look back now for 3 years, look, the world has changed.
Yeah.
Rapid, as a heavily, I cannot explain it, don't find the right words. So I'm really interested in which pilot in 2017, 2015, or even 2018, or the beginning of 2019 has incorporated such a scenario. I'm sure not one. Yeah.
I would disregard any research or anything that was, COVID came along in 2020 and everything, there was a line drawn. Where everything before that, you can just disregard it. Because this, COVID changed so many things. We didn't have, there's a debate constantly going on LinkedIn now, quite rightly, about whether people should work from home or go in the office. We never had that that debate in 2019.
Yeah.
Quiet quitting or whatever, and all of these things that have come out, and the need for working with purpose, working with impact, and all of these things. These are completely. There's a new whole vocabulary of business that have come out, and that's changed so much. Sorry, I'm talking now. Your recruitment policy that you had in 2019, if you haven't changed it in 2023, there's something drastically wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So so there's this it's the world's basically just threw it all up in the air, but many people are just merrily going along, which is why there's probably so many layoffs going on.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the case. The question is, again, to me, against the background you were illustrating, is this a problem of, for example, a crisis such as COVID, Or is this a problem that the business model is too old or not flexible enough? Or was there, let's call it the mistake, that nobody has thought before such a crisis came into place about how we can react or how we can create an entire new business model? For example, because you named it 1990 and digital transformation 15 years. Yeah? Think about it. We are now in 2023, and in some branches, my feeling is that we are still talking about the basics. And this is not a bad thing, definitely not. Because we have to imagine some branches come from the traditional areas and have been built physical products, and of course they are much more familiar with these products, physical products, than rather than with digital ones. So if they should invest 10 million, for example, or 100 million, whatever it is, into let's call it a factory or a machine that you see physically, compared to a virtual cloud-based infrastructure, of course, what would they say? I cannot build a machine myself the other way around. So I was always scared. Oh, sorry, no, I don't invest 10 million in this case because I'm not be able to build the machine. So if we understand the challenge, okay, this is the first step. But on the other hand, yeah, think about digital transformation, digitalization. For me, these are different things. Digitalization, and now in the context of business models, digitalization means, or even digital growth means, or let's make it the other way around. Digital growth on the top. So you can drive digital growth in two ways. On one hand, you grow your established products or services with the help of technology, and this means digital growth in the way of streamlining processes. And this is simply called, in my world, digitalization. So on the other hand, you can create an entire new business model and not streamlining the processes. The focus is on entirely new business model. And this is called, in my world, digital business transformation.
Right.
So there's a big difference in between, but we use these two terms interchangeably. And this means, okay, think about a company with 500 staff or with 5,000. Yeah, we do digital projects or we do digitalization. What does it mean in the end? Of course, not everybody is aware of what it means, but think about this: for a common cause, for a common direction, for shifting the company from A to B. How should this work? So if you don't establish this common sense, it's not possible. And I guess, yeah, look, we are talking here for almost 20 minutes now, but I guess one feature key is to be aware of the words and their meaning. Not so much about what means this in detail, and do we need artificial intelligence or not. Of course, artificial intelligence is a great technology, and it helps companies massively further. This is not the question. But in which way, in which context, in which business field does it make sense or not? This is a discussion on a deeper level. And what I see, and this is, I repeat it again and again, I see discussions even on the board level that are too much on the surface and not deep enough when it comes to the future of the company. And the reasons, we have many reasons for that. This is not discuss worthy for today because this is a whole evening. But, if we don't get deeper and understand the context, we are talking about digitalization, digital transformation, digital growth, or new business models. I'm sorry, it cannot go into the right direction or based on a lucky punch.
I agree with you, Mike, and I think that I think there's too many people that are skating, going across the surface around this, and making a number of assumptions. There was a guy that came to me. I was having a conversation with him. He said he worked for a fintech organization, He said, we were digital from day one. And I disagreed with him because I said that the people and the process are digital. You may have a whole bunch of applications in the cloud, and you may be talking a digital story because you're a fintech, but actually there's efficiencies that you can be getting through digitization of the people and the process.
Yeah, for me, this is a perfect example that you're using or that you're illustrating. Again, this fintech is another word, and it's very difficult to talk about all these things in depth through a video chat. But on the other hand, again, we talk and talk and talk and talk. And instead of walk the walk, as it may sound, but again, in any case, inventing new business models, or why we need new business models, is a simple way. We need to adapt to all these new framework conditions, and this sooner than later. And we cannot postpone everything into the future. A digital project or digitalization process is easily postponed in the future. We make money today, but let's postpone it to the future. But this is not the case when we talk about business models. We talk about the future of the company, the future to attract the right talent. For example, a good fellow of us, Hanadi El Sayed, I read a post this morning, I guess. It was about the youthquake. The youthquake compared, I guess, to the earthquake. I couldn't read it, but think about it. The youthquake means we have the next peak when it comes to the workforce. And these millennials or generation Y, Z, and whatever, the fact is simply, hey, they are driven by different purposes.
Yes.
And the companies need to attract the right people with the right mindset, with the right business model, with the right future thinking. And if we don't do this, it's not just about bringing something into the market. We solve an issue, and that's it. Like it was maybe 40 years ago, or 60 years ago. We had different framework conditions. Today we have a lot of drivers: the workforce, the market, the customers, crisis, the poly-crisis situation, digitalization, digital transformation, competitors from a completely different branch or area comes into our market. There are so many things like an orchestra, and we have to keep everything under one rooftop. And this is difficult, and it makes even more sense to talk about real facts and in depth about the topics, and not on the surface. It's not possible to create a future business model that is successful when we always keep away or stay away from the facts and the figures. It's not possible.
Mike, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today about new business models. It's a fascinating subject. And one I'm sure that we'll be discussing again in many years to come. Mike, remind people where they can get hold of you.
Yeah, again, you can find me on LinkedIn, of course, and on the internet under mikeflache.com.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insight again, Mike. It's as I said, it's a fascinating subject.